I'm Mark Smith from Music Yukon, and I want to talk or ask you a question about the rejigging that's taken place to our programming. I think most people in the room feel like the current government has jigged us all quite well. As a lot of you have mentioned, or a number of you have mentioned Canadian heritage, but there's also a very important factor to the arts that works in other departments, and that's DFAID, the Department of Foreign Affairs and International Trade. They have a program in specific for music called Trade Routes, which takes our musicians around the world. And it's one thing for a Yukon artist to get help from Foreign Affairs to go to England and do a concert or showcase. But the biggest thing they do is bring foreign buyers into concentrated marketplaces across our own country. Our events like the Western Canadian Music Awards, East Coast Music Awards, Canada Music Week, OCFF in Ontario, on and on. DFAID brings foreign buyers in concentrations, 25, 30 different buyers. They monitor who they bring very well. And these people have tremendous impact in taking the word and the talents of our artists back home with them and then spreading the word. In addition, we have 8 cultural commissioners. Yes?
Can we hear your question, please?
Yes. Okay, we have 8 cultural trade commissioners who work around the world in partnership with DFAID. And my question is, in terms of restoring cuts, do you pledge that you will also restore and give as much importance to DFAID and to the cultural trade commissions around the world as you do to the Department of Canadian Heritage here? Thank you.
We do it for widget makers. The Canadian concert in Trafalgar Square on Canada Day this year is a perfect example of how we can showcase Canadian talent, and especially Canadian musical talent. Of course, DFAID plays a huge role in that, and we would, of course, restore that funding and look at extending it, because there may be consulates and embassies in the world where we don't yet have that kind of presence. So, yeah, of course.
Yeah, the Green Party has already stated that it would reinstate the funding cuts to the DFAID programs. As well, the Green Party has a policy in place to increase support for regional arts and music festivals that bring our art and culture to the wider audience. So your discussion about DFAID coming in, often we also find here in the Yukon that what we need to do is to get our Yukon artists to some of these Canadian festivals where they then can connect up with the buyers and the purveyors of music and other arts. So it's not just an international problem, it's also an internal to Canada problem. And so the Green Party is committed to increasing funding for the regional music and art festivals.
$8 million was gutted from the public diplomacy program, and also we would not only reinstate the international funding, but increase it by $15 million over 3 years. And the program is even more funding important once again for Yukon artists, because these buyers that come from overseas to the Western Canadian Music Awards or big shows, you know, a vast majority of them are not coming to the Yukon. And so the Yukon artists have to go to them and then can get a chance to do their gigs around the world, which has occurred. And in particular, they get to see artists which we know are great and hear from the small communities, so the small towns in the Yukon, and they get to see famous artists and then get to go around the world. The Yukon government does a good job of supporting and developing them locally, but we can't fall down in our job of sending them around the world.
Okay, so I'm seeing a bit of a pattern here. We've got 3 parties here who are all in the opposition, and of course are ready to not only reinstate if there actually was a decrease in funding, because there has been an increase in funding to arts and culture by this government. But not only will they reinstate what they say is missing, but they also have more and more money. And you hear this throughout the platform in all kinds of areas as well. So I guess there's a little different context from which I'm coming from. But I think that it's important that we look at this. And I just want to say briefly is that my wife and myself and we've raised our kids in this community. We've been here. We've been involved in arts and culture, both enjoying it, supporting it, and also sponsoring it. And I want to make sure that everybody understands that don't paint everybody with the same brush. We're big supporters in this community. I can go to Ottawa and represent you and be a strong voice. Thank you.
Steve.